Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're talking about Outer Range episodes 3 and 4. Another 2 episodes dropped today, so I guess that's what we're getting for the rest of these weeks. 2 episodes every single week, and I'm fine with it. I mean, these episodes sort of fly by for me. The show is great, so it's not even like a drag to watch. Like sometimes when shows like aren't that good and they drop like 2-3 episodes, it could be repetitive. But I think because like this show is just so damn good, in my opinion, having 2 episodes is just a lot of fun. So what we're going to do in this video is pretty much recap everything. I'm going to be talking about everything that happened in episode 3 and episode 4. Try and make it as quick as I can because it is 2 episodes, so it is, a lot to cover. So that's just what's going to happen. Give my rating for it at the end. Some theories, as always, at the end as well. So if you guys enjoy this video, please make sure to like it. Please make sure to subscribe if you are new. But let's talk about Outer Range episodes 3 and 4. Alright, so before I start on episode 3, I just want to do like a grand landscape of both episodes. And I really like how both episodes, it's sort of telling us that the show is not afraid to get like really ridiculous with their concepts or very out there. The first 2 episodes with that giant black smoky crater, I mean, we could tell that this wasn't going to be your traditional cowboy type of show. They're going to be dealing with some crazy concepts in here, especially with the ending of that second episode. And this 2 episodes, I forgot exactly which episode, but they sort of confirm that this all has to do with time. And episode 3 sort of starts with that as Josh Brolin narrates over this ever-changing sort of fast forward through time of pretty much like the whole earth, talking about like mankind and time and all this stuff. And it seems like that's what this whole has to do with. It has to do with time and not necessarily just straight up disappearance, which is what we thought, except when Josh Brolin was pushed in, we knew that he, went somewhere else. As we'll find out at the end of episode 3, he got pushed into the future. And then when he went back into the hole, I guess he got back into present time. So the show's still sort of confusing with its concepts, but we're getting to some sort of answer as we approach closer to hopefully by the end of this season, we get some prominent answers. But I love how these 2 episodes, it furthers the plot, especially with the investigation about the death of one of the brothers. I think it was Trevor, right? Trevor goes missing. And so I love how the sheriff is full-on investigating this. Like, she's investigating everyone. The Rep brothers, I mean, they all have to lie and sort of like scheme their way around the investigation. But I thought that was very interesting, and the route they go through. So let's start with episode 3. We'll just talk generally about what happened. All right, so let's focus on the sheriff to begin with. She plays a big role in these 2 episodes, a lot more prominent role than those first 2 episodes. But so she arrests this like lunatic guy in the beginning. He's sort of crazy, sort of rambles about the disappearance of people, and that sort of lets us know as the audience that it's not just these characters that we've seen so far that are dealing with these disappearances or like with this whole, or like there's some sketchy weird stuff that's going on, and people are starting to notice even when the big mountain disappears later in this episode. Like people notice it, and that's such a crazy concept, that people see a mountain like disappear and there's like an actual investigation that goes into that. It's not like just like a throwaway thing. And so the sheriff starts investigating. She finds Trevor's belt buckle, and it has the younger Rep brother's blood on it, and he's the rodeo guy, right? As we saw that he's sort of like an alcoholic, I guess, or he drinks a lot and he's big on rodeo. That's like his thing, right? And so the sheriff finds his blood on the belt buckle. Now that's huge because now that's pretty much makes him a prime suspect, right? And so she informs him of this information at the rodeo, and he sort of denies everything. I actually don't even think he admits to anything. I think she tells him this information, then he has to go do the rodeo, right? And so it's only till later when he goes to the bar with that girl that works at the bank, and he gets drunk again, then he pisses on the cop car, and he leads to jail, right? And so now this is where he admits to the sheriff that he did get into a fight with Trevor. He didn't kill him, but I think he says something along the lines of they had a fight, then he walked back inside the bar, and that was the last time he saw him was outside by himself. So now Josh Brolin's character, whose name is Royal, has to bail out his son. So he goes to bail out his son. In the process, he takes that belt buckle that has his son's blood on it, and he steals it. And what does he do with it? He throws it into the crater, right? The black abyss, the smoky abyss. And it makes me wonder his decision on doing that, because he knows that these items go somewhere, you know? At least we haven't found the body yet. Like, he hasn't solidified, like, he doesn't maybe fully comprehend, like, if things go somewhere, or if maybe if some things disappear. But like, it's just weird to think that, you know, he took the evidence, maybe he could have hid it maybe somewhere better, maybe he could have buried it, but he decides to throw it into the abyss where he knows maybe it'll just show up somewhere. So I'm just wondering, like, what his thought process is there. I'm thinking maybe he just doesn't fully comprehend the effect of that, the effect of the abyss and where things go. Okay, so now at this next part, this is where I can see the show losing a lot of people. I can also see it maybe gaining a lot of people. It all depends on how far you'll go with these ridiculous concepts that happen in this show, right? So what happens now is that Royal meets up with Autumn, right? Autumn's the blonde girl that's been living on his ranch or whatever, right? And so they talk, and Royal wants her to keep his secrets about the black hole and not to tell anyone about what's going on, right? And so now she agrees to keep his secrets as long as she gets to learn more about the Royals, right? Sort of like a trade-off between them. And so what he does is that he tells her the truth about what happened when he fell into the black hole, right? Because that's what she wants to know. And he pretty much just tells her what I said in the beginning of this video about time, and that he pretty much time traveled. He went to the future, and she's shocked by this. Seems like she doesn't know as much as I thought she knew. I thought she knew a lot more about this black hole. As we saw, she has like that necklace on, and it has that same sort of like essence, that smoky thing, and some sort of rock on her necklace. So I thought maybe she knew a lot more, but I guess she didn't really know about the time travel thing until this moment. And so what happens now is that they agree to shake hands about this agreement, right? This trade-off of information or whatever it is. And when they touch hands, the mountain behind Autumn disappears. And then when they let go of their hands, the mountain comes back. So, and it shows it. And it's not just in his head or her head or whatever. Even the sheriff sees it, as we know in a little bit. A bunch of town people see it. And like I said, this is where it could lose people, because it is it's ridiculous when you're watching it. It's like, okay, like this is a little bit weird now. This could be a little bit much. But I don't know. Like, for me personally, I actually enjoy it. For me, it was like a shocking moment. I was like, what the fuck? And I just wanted to I want to see like how far the show will actually go with their concepts. Because as long as it connects in the end and it all makes sense in some sort of way, I'm fine with this stuff. Like, I'm fine with this ridiculousness stuff. But I mean, a whole mountain disappearing. It's one thing to have some sort of crater that's maybe time travel and stuff like that. But to have like two people touch, and their touch affects this giant mountain like disappearing for a moment, like, what's the connection there? You know that there's a connection, but I just don't think anyone has any good theories on it yet right now. So yeah, I'm down with the ridiculousness though of this sci-fi. And then in the final moments of the show, one of the brothers of Trevor, the missing brother, Luke, demands that the youngest rep brother is arrested, right? And so the sheriff needs that belt buckle as evidence, right? It has his blood in it. So she discovers that's missing. As we know what happened with it, Royal put it in the hole. And so what happens though is that Royal's daughter is walking on the trail, and she comes across Trevor, and it seems like Trevor ended up in that spot, like when Royal dumped his body into the hole. Like I said, the item that gets dumped in the hole has to end up somewhere, right? And it's weird that, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, so when Royal was dumped into the hole, he went into the future, right? But when Trevor goes into the hole, a dead body, it just ends up in another spot on the ranch. Like, it just seems like inconsistent. It's like, what pertains something to go to the future and what causes it to stay in the present. I'm not sure. Hopefully the writers have an explanation on that. But so she finds the body, she comes back, she tells everyone, she's like, I think I just found his dead body. And so Josh Brolin, I think, just decides to call the cops, either in, I don't know if that's the ending of this episode or the beginning of the fourth episode is when he decides to call the cops. I think it's the beginning of the fourth. But this episode ends like this. I thought this was a great episode. It was good the whole way through. Like, it was a great episode. And I think like these last final moments of the mountain, finding the body, It was just all like everything happening at once. It was like very shocking again, like these last two episodes, the first two, how they all led to like this shocking conclusion of the episode. That's what happened here, and I love that, like the pacing of that. To have it be good, and then the ending just be like this chaotic, shocking finale. Okay, so I'm actually going to give my rating for this episode at the end of the rating for episode 4, or the review for episode 4, because I did rate the episodes the same. I don't think they were too different in terms of like rating. I think I think both episodes gave like a good amount and stuff. So, but episode 4 is now titled The Loss. And what happens here in the beginning is that we actually go to Wayne, who is the other rancher, and he receives like this chunk of rock from Royal's ranch. And it has like that same sort of smoky crater looking stuff in the rock, right? And so Wayne has some sort of connection with this crater as a kid. As we see in this episode, he gets flashbacks to a kid and he saw this crater thing, right? And so he gets this rock and he sees the smoky design and he starts like dancing with it. He's very weird. I don't like... I want to know more about Wayne. I really do. I think there's a lot more to him that the show's letting up on. I don't think he's just like... the show's making it seem like he's just like this crazy guy who had like this really crazy experience as a kid, and he saw this crater and he's been like obsessed with it, right? And I think that's what he is, but I think there's like a little bit more to like his backstory in terms of like how he got that way, in terms of like his sickness, and like his actual motive for wanting to find the crater, trying to find the crater. But now we go to Sheriff Joy, who is continuing her investigation. She goes to the Royal's house because the Royal found the body, right? Amy found the body, but then Royal is the one who called Sheriff, and now she's coming to continue the investigation and interview the family, most particularly Amy. And now, so she knows that the belt buckle was stolen. She thinks it might have been Royal, but she doesn't bring it up to him during this interview because she mostly wants to talk to Amy so that Amy can recount the night about Trevor's disappearance. And so what Amy does here, though, is very interesting because she says that Rhett's not at the house, right? She like recounts the whole night when the two brothers came and they were drunk, and the mother tries to like butt in, but the sheriff just wants to talk to Amy. And so Amy covers up for him, though, and says that Rhett was with a girl that night. And then when the sheriff asks about Royal, Royal gives her like a signal like this, and she just sort of understood it. And she said that her grandpa was sleeping, that Royal was sleeping. And so she's covering for them. And so, I mean, I thought that was just very interesting, and it sort of goes along like the character traits for Royal and his family, because I think they did speak to Amy and sort of told her like, hey, if the sheriff asked about me or about your brother, like just say that that he was with a girl and that I was sleeping. I think that was planned out, So it's just a character trait that they would, manipulate this little girl to lie. But honestly, like it's murder. Like you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess, right? Okay, so after this, we get this scene where Rhett is unaware that the body is being found. So the cop tries to get to him before he finds out. He's able to answer the call, and the brother lets him know that they found the body. And this is another interesting thing, is that Maria, the girl that he's dating, the bank girl, she covers up for him and says that, like he was with me that night, and so it gives him an alibi. But she doesn't know that it's homicide yet, and we'll figure that out later when the sheriff is interrogating her a little bit, when she finds out that like it's actually homicide, which, kind of changes the game for her. But so like after this scene, we see Wayne and the Tillerson brothers, they get the news about Trevor's body being found, right? And so now one of them, Perry, heads out to the woods. That's where he finds Autumn, the blonde girl living in the land. They sort of talk for a little bit. It looks like he doesn't trust her, but he hands over like his business card. Then he just walks away. Then we have Royal talking to Cecilia, and he admits that he doesn't know how the body ended up in the woods. Cecilia is his wife. And so I think Cecilia thinks that he's cheating on her with Autumn, because she asks about Autumn, about this girl, and she says, do you think like she could have moved the body or whatever? And he says no, because I think he cares for Autumn in some way. Like their relationship is very, very weird, but like also really cool, especially towards the end with the poker game, which we'll get to. But like he's defending her, but the way he defends her just makes it seem like, he's cheating on Cecilia with Autumn, because like it shows that he cares for her, and Cecilia probably sees that in him. Okay, so in the next couple of scenes, we see Royal go back into the woods, and like he gets a rock and like he smashes it. Don't really know like what the intention was there for that. And then the sheriff, this is where she interrogates Maria, sorry. And this is where she actually admits that she wasn't with Red at all when she learned that it was homicide. And now this lie actually messes up the story for Rhett and Perry, because they were going off the story that he was with Maria, that Rhett was with Maria, right? And so it looks like she's about to, really make them crack, and maybe they'll say something stupid. But then Royal comes and he takes them home, and he sort of like saves the day, and they don't have to talk anymore, right? So after this is where Royal goes to Carl, which is, I know that he's the butler from that Disney show. Was it Hey Jesse? Is that the name of it? He's in a couple other things too, but he's like the count assessor, or like I thought he was like the lawyer for the. At first I thought he was the lawyer for the Tillersons, but he's not. He's like the count assessor. I think that's like his official name. And so Royal sort of like threatens him about something. He even goes as far as to say like, you're gonna go meet like a black hole soon. Like pretty much sounds like threatening him with like killing him and stuff. Like Royal goes really deep in there. But looks like it doesn't even affect him. Carl ends up like moving the hearing up to next week, and he says that he doesn't respond well to threats. But then I think Cecilia says that you respond well to bribes though, or something, right? Saying that he got bribed by the Tillersons. After this, we see Sheriff Joy go to the dead body of Trevor. We get like the autopsy report, and it says that he died from blunt force trauma to the windpipe, right? So now that gives us more into the investigation, at least for Joy. I mean, we obviously know what happened to him. And but she still can't figure out like how the body ended up in the woods. That's still like an anomaly that can't be explained, right? And so after this, we then see the funeral for Trevor. Autumn is there. After this, we get the whole gambling scene, which I really love. They were playing poker, I believe, and it was Autumn on one side, Royal on the other. Really great tension in this moment. I really love this moment a lot. Even the devil's story, just very like the way Royal, or Josh Brolin, really, the way like he acted and said it, it's really like imaginary. I love like the hoof devil talk. Like I just thought it was so cool and perfect for this moment. Again, we see the buffalo come in, which I guess was the same buffalo with 2 arrows, or maybe should I say 1 arrow now, as Autumn took one out in the beginning of episode 3 or 4. Still something with that buffalo that I can't really put my finger on. I think it might be something simple as he was put through the hole at some point and then he came back out, and maybe he had the arrows. I'm just not sure, but he's definitely going to be important in some aspect. But this poker game between them is really cool because the stakes are that if Autumn wins, first she says that she wants to stay on the land indefinitely, and Royal agrees as long as he gets the necklace around her neck, and then she says as long as I get the Western pasture, maybe he says it, whatever it is, it's Western pasture versus her whole story and the necklace around his neck, right? And so Royal ends up winning the game. As we find out later as he gets into the car, he had a card up his sleeve, so he actually cheated his way to a win. And then at the very end, we see Wayne, the old man. He goes to the crater. Once he shows up there, Royal also comes out of nowhere and grabs him and they fight. He headbutts Wayne. He thinks Wayne's knocked out, but Wayne's not, and he uses the rock from earlier to hit Royal in the back of the head, and that's like how the episode ends. So again, like I thought the ending of this episode was really cool as well. I love the poker game. The Wayne Royal fight was pretty cool and stuff. And so my rating for both episodes is a 4.1 out of 5. And I honestly think both episodes are really good. I love how we further the investigation with Joy. I love how Joy's a bigger character in these 2 episodes. I love how we further the investigation there. And I do actually like how wacky it gets with that mountain disappearing, Trevor's body showing up out of nowhere, Wayne and how weird he is. I kind of like that character, how like weird he is. And I mean, dude, like the acting is great, the music is great, the score is great. It's just like a really well-made show, I think, too. I think it looks really well. But like it does have its problems. Like it's not perfect. It's definitely not perfect. I do think there are some aspects that I don't enjoy, like the Carl scene, like when Royal interrogated Carl. Like I just didn't really care. Like I don't care for it that much. The Tillerson brothers, how one like keeps singing. It does add some good comedy stuff. Like I'm watching him sing and I'm like, what the hell am I watching? It is weird, and it's funny at times too. But there are moments where I'm like, okay, like this episode 4 is an hour long. Like does it need to be an hour long? Maybe not. I liked how the other episode was like 40 minutes long. But that being said, I think it's paced well. I think it's not terribly paced at all. And I love how each episode has like this sort of not rush, but chaotic conclusions that are sort of shocking or filled with a lot of tension, like with that poker game. So it's for a lot of shows nowadays, I feel like a lot of them are delving into like this mystery sci-fi thing, and it's been panning out recently. I feel like Yellow Jackets had like that sci-fi thing to it. Obviously, Invasion had the sci-fi thing to it. The Invasion's ending sort of made it somewhat not worth it, but interesting. Like the ending of Invasion actually made me want to maybe think about season 2 a little bit more. And then there was like Foundation. There's been a lot of sci-fi mysteries out there recently, and it all just comes down to the payoff, right? It's all about the ending of the season when we get all the answers, and it's like, okay, does this make sense? Does a giant mountain disappearing make sense for the writing and the show? Does it all come together nice, or was it all just a bunch of nonsense that never connected well? You know, so for me personally, I can't really have a certain stance on the craziness yet, because it's all about how it all comes together by the end. But now pertaining to theories, I think you could actually have a good theory about a lot of characters in the show with a couple of different things. One main theory I want to talk about, which is not even like a full theory that I have my whole head wrapped around yet, is one with Autumn though. Like there's a lot to talk about with Autumn. She has a lot of money, right? As we saw during the poker game, she was scamming people out of money. Royal comes in, he's like, oh, you're scamming these people out of money. And she had like that rock thing on her. And I thought like maybe like the rock gives her like some sort of like powers, or maybe she was using it and like that's how she got all the money, was from the gambling thing. But my theory on Autumn's actually different, and it's so crazy. I think that I know people are saying that Autumn might be the granddaughter. Is it Amy? Amy, right? And I think that could be true, and I think that it's like, because she doesn't remember anything before she was 9 for Autumn, right? Amy's like about 9 now. It's sort of like evident, right? But I think how she got that money, Autumn, is by selling the ranch to either Wayne or the Tillersons after Royal died, and maybe after like her mom died, like into the future. But she would have remembered that though, right? She would have remembered selling the land, because she wouldn't have sold it at 9 unless like all of her family was dead and she was like the sole owner, and like they asked a 9-year-old what she wants to do with that land. She said sell it, and that's how she got all the money. But I feel like she would have remembered that. I don't know, unless like her whole family is dead and she just, and like their last dying wish was to sell like this land, and then that's how Autumn got the money, and she doesn't know exactly how she got it. She just got the money. I don't know, but I'm on the theory though that Autumn is Amy, and I think that the money has to do with the ranch, you know, because like that would make sense for like why the Wayne wants it for the crater, right? There's so much talk about this show, and it's so like the way like I'm talking right now, sounds like I'm rambling, right? Because there's so many things that we need to try and connect, but like the show is so confusing a little bit and hasn't really given us enough yet, but we can definitely make some cool theories. It's like 3 a.m. right now. I can't even think of any good ones, but I feel like I've already made this video too long, so I'm going to end it here now. Let me know down below any theories you guys have about Autumn, Royal. What do you think is going to happen? Like the disappearing mountain, like why is it when they touched hands, is that when the mountain disappeared? Like why? And then does the mountain disappearing also connect to the crazy guy in the beginning of episode 4 that talked about the disappearance of people? Like how does that connect? Like, you know that definitely connects. The show doesn't just throw that in there for no reason. This disappearing people has to connect with the creator somehow. And then yeah, I mean the show, I mean I'm loving it so far. It really is something to really sink your teeth into and think about, and really like when the next week comes around, like I'm going to be starting this right away because I need answers. I want to figure out what happens, and I hope we get 2 episodes again because I do think it's a lot of fun. And so thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to like it. Please make sure to subscribe if you are new. But that is it. Comment down your theories. Comment down below what you think of the 2 episodes. And that is pretty much it. So have a great rest of the day, and I will see you all in the next video.